Israel rolls out second phase of war on Hamas. Israel is advancing further inside Gaza with the IDF claiming to have struck hundreds of Hamas targets. The IDF says its forces have struck 11,000 Hamas targets since the terrorist organization abducted at least 240 hostages and murdered more than 1,400 people in Israel. Meanwhile, Hamas rocket attack on Israel continues. A fresh rocket attack took place in central Israel's Ashdod. Now, pressure continues to build for a ceasefire. India today has created a visual image that gives you an overview of Israel's ground operation in Gaza. Israel's military is approaching Gaza City from at least 3 sides. Large groups of Israeli tanks and other armored vehicles are making their way deep into Gaza.
אנחנו יוצאים למתקפה על החמאס וארגוני הטרור ברצועת עזה. מטרתנו היא אחת, ניצחון. לא משנה כמה תהיה ארוכה הלחימה, כמה קשה, אין תוצאה אחרת מלבד ניצחון. נילחם במקצועיות ובעוצמה לאור ערכי צה"ל עליהם חונכנו, ובראשם הדבקות במשימה והחתירה לניצחון. תם כל עם ישראל, כולם מביטים בנו כעת. כמוני, גם הם סומכים עליכם ומאמינים בכם. אתם דור הניצחון. כאן קודקוד, נו למשימותיכם, הכו באויב, סוף.
Mossab Hassan Yusuf, the disowned son of Hamas founder, tells the truth of Hamas. Born and raised into the horrors of Hamas, after years on the inside, he escaped and survived. Listen in as he reveals the truth of Hamas.
The people of Gaza are oppressed for so long, and they had to endure siege, they had to endure violence, many wars for the sake of Hamas' lust for power and for Hamas' political ambition.
Mossab Hassan Yusuf knows Hamas better than anybody else. His father, Sheikh Hassan Yusuf, was one of Hamas's founding leaders.
They start a war every few years. Whenever they want money, they shed children's blood. This is their game.
Single misfire killed hundreds of refugees taking shelter at a hospital, and they blamed Israel. What are we talking about here? Israel is a democracy. Israel is accountable. Israel is not thirsty for the Palestinian blood. The Palestinian children, the Palestinian society has been hijacked by these criminals. And anybody who takes their side is participating in their crime.
A message to Hamas. You risked the lives of defenseless civilians who entrusted you to govern them, not to use them as human shields. You lived in luxury while the refugees of Gaza starved. You valued your ideals more than you valued human life. Your useless effort has always been to destroy Israel, not to build a Palestinian nation.
Unfortunately, now Hamas left Israel and the free world as well with no choice but to fight them and put an end for their violence. Many civilians are dying, I understand this. Their blood is on the hands of Hamas, and Hamas only.
My colleague Shivarur has been bringing us the latest updates from Ground Zero on the Israel-Hamas war. Shiv, what are Israel's immediate and long-term ground invasion goals?
Well, the immediate goal is pretty definite, and that is endgame Hamas. The obliteration, the complete decimation of the Hamas appears to be the immediate endgame. There can be nothing else. This is absolutely non-negotiable as far as Israel is concerned. But the risks of a full-scale ground invasion into Gaza are very real, because that could trigger a political vacuum which would add the governance of Gaza or the responsibility on Israel's shoulders, and it most definitely does not want that, because that could basically mean operating in an area which is already under fire and basically being in a counter-insurgency area or an angry insurgency area. So it's very unlikely, and that's one of the reasons why you're seeing a limited inch by inch, meter by meter kind of ground operation and not a full-scale invasion of the kind we've seen in the past. In terms of the long-term vision for Israel, I think while there is a degree of ambiguity in terms of how it plans to actually achieve it, I think it is about reacquiring a sense of security. What happened on October the 7th, caught this hyper-intelligent and hyper-aware country completely by surprise. So there is going to be a difficult journey ahead for Israel, accepting and figuring out and conducting a post-mortem as to how it could possibly have been caught sleeping by something that was in the works for many months, if not years, by Hamas, Iran and other agencies. And therefore, to reacquire that sense of security, to be able to take a breath and not always be hyper alert, or just make your peace with being hyper alert at all times, is a difficult proposition. And therefore, getting back that sense of being able to exhale, having that sense of security, I think is what the long-term vision is going to be, and it's a long journey there.
Also, Shiv, Israeli offensive shows signs of only expanding despite widespread pro-Palestine protests. How determined is the IDF?
Oh, I don't think Israel cares at all about the pro-Palestinian protests in different parts of the world. In fact, it probably has the effect of galvanizing Israel even more, because in many ways it proves Israel's point. They see the pro-Palestinian protests as anti-Semitism. Even criticism of Israel is being seen or labeled as anti-Semitism in some quarters, because that's the emotion on the ground here in this country. There is a sense of how dare you question our right to defend ourselves. That's the emotion in Israel right now, even within those who oppose the Netanyahu government. But the IDF and Israel remain completely determined at this point of time. The fact that a ground operation even began despite the hostage crisis not being resolved, shows you that Israel is calculating this very, very carefully, moving very deliberately forward, is aware of all the pressure. But as far as the pro-Palestinian protests that have swept different places in the world, the lynch mob attacks in Russia, the huge crowds in the United States, France, the United Kingdom, and other places, I can tell you very, very frankly, all it has really done is consolidated support within Israel for an expanded ground operation, and it has most certainly galvanized the IDF, to speed along and achieve its military objectives.
Shiv, thank you so much for joining us with all of those updates.
India's #1 political reporter
defines what seems to be happening, vendetta politics. कोई दूध के से धुला हुआ नहीं है.
Unmatched eye, unmatched experience.
The world has changed. My black hair has become grey as well.
And with unmatched passion for the story.
Do not monopolize the conversation.
When it's 100% news that matters. It's News Today with Rajdeep Sardesai. Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. Only on India Today TV.